Okay. Whew, sorry. Bad throat. Burns. Yeah, anyway. Welcome to Pathfinder Kingmaker. Now I was talking about this with my mate Simon, or Dragonlawn. And he totally wanted to see it. As did Silveri and another one of my friends here on YouTube. So I decided, why not? Because I actually enjoy playing this, because I've been streaming Pillars of Eternity lately, and this is a lot like Pillars of Eternity, not only in that it was also made possible by a Kickstarter like Pillars of Eternity, which I find nice, that a community of people came together and got money together in order to make this game possible. But yeah, anyway, it's I'm sure you've probably at least heard of Dungeons and Dragons and such. And personally, I like D&D, but I don't really play it. I'm not particularly good at it either, because I can never remember spells and stuff. I'm just completely useless. But yeah, it's basically like Dungeons and Dragons, but in a video game. It has a lot of, the unique decision making, different classes you can use, all sorts of paths, your alignment, neutral good, chaotic evil, neutral and such. And also it also has you have companions and stuff who accompany you, and you can fall in love with them and such, and they'll have their own endings. But also, and this is where it differs from Pillars of Eternity in one point, that your companions will say things depending on who's with you and what situation you're in. They will have their own dialogue options, but they will actually affect the game. So if they say something or they do something, like if you have a companion who wants to kill someone because they don't like them, because they're a terrible person or whatever, they will say something about it, and then you will have to respond to that dialogue option more likely than not. So it's actually a lot more interactive than Pillars of Eternity, and also, and this is a bit of a spoiler, but you've probably heard about it if you know anything about the game, but like Pillars of Eternity, you get to rule over your own land. However, you become a baron or baroness of an area, and then you eventually form it into a kingdom, and you become the king or queen, which is a lot bigger than in Pillars of Eternity, when you just had your own keep and you built a couple of buildings on it. So you were really restricted in what you could do. There wasn't much creativity and such there. You were restricted by just picking a building. Whereas on here, you can build villages, towns and stuff, upgrade them with different buildings that you can pick and stuff, create them how you want. You set up your own council and such, and court, to make different decisions depending on who you put in what place. It'll affect what happens, and their own beliefs and such do have an impact. So if someone believes in following the law to the letter, then they will enact the law to the letter. They won't let people off or whatever. They will do what the law says, regardless of the consequences. Whereas if you have someone who cares about all people, then they will try to make the best decision for the largest majority of people possible. So it really does matter who you pick and what position you put them in. So obviously the head of a military, you want someone who's strict and strong and a good leader, whereas someone who works with the community and the people and sort of tries to help out with their problems, you need someone who's fair and kind and will help everyone out. So it actually does really matter. And of course the character you make will affect it as well, because there's some dialogue options where you need to be evil or chaotic and such to use, or good and such, because of course if you're not a good character, then you can't make good choices. You can still pick some dialogue options of any variety, but there are certain choices that have a specific impact on the game that are locked. So just as an example, there's one dialogue option that we'll get to eventually, where you need to have good alignments: a neutral good, lawful good, chaotic good, but good. And if you don't, you can't pick that option, which of course means that that path, that bit, is impossible to complete, and that has a effect, because that person will then die, whereas they would live otherwise. And that of course means that their ending at the end of the game will of course involve them dying instead of moving on and doing whatever. So yeah, this game actually does have, you know, so many choices and stuff. Of course it's limited, unlike Dungeons and Dragons, to whatever the game's been programmed with. You can't just completely decide to destroy the entire planet and kill all living life. That's not an option, really. There are some options similar, but not a destroy the world option. So obviously you are restricted by the game itself, but other than that, you can do whatever. You can choose to do some quests, or you can just go through the main campaign itself and forget everything else. But then, of course, a lot of your companions will be dissatisfied and not have their full potential and such. So, yeah. Anyway. So, of course, it has 2 DLCs, but we want to, of course, do the main story first before anything else, because we can't really do the DLCs if we haven't played through the main story, since they take place like afterwards, it seems. So, or at least they take place halfway through or something. Because this one takes place technically kind of early on, but you probably won't do them until after you've completed the main campaign, because you want to just go through the main story first. Now, difficulty. Now, here's the thing, I would love to play on like hard or something, but I can't. I'll be completely honest and say I play on story on my other campaigns, because I am bad at the game. There's no other way to put it. I suck. Which obviously is quite sad when you think about it. Look at this. Damage to party is 0.2. So your party takes probably 1/5 of the damage that they usually would in battles, and I still managed to lose. I mean, that is quite pathetic, really. How you can suck at a game so much that even with every advantage possible and facing the weakest enemies ever, you can still die. And it's shameful for me as someone who plays video games to have to say that I am so bad at it that I can't play with it. Even if I had a cheat which was like God mode and I couldn't die or anything, I'd probably still die somehow. I'd find a way to screw up completely, and it's honestly ridiculous. This is all the normal. Oh bloody hell. Oh god, I don't know why my throat hurts so much, but whatever. But yeah, it's amazing how even on the simplest difficulties, I somehow managed to completely screw it up, and I'll never understand it. But yeah. We're gonna go like this for now, with, you know, the easiest stuff, just simply because like I said, I'll still suck. Now, of course, you get to creating a character. Now you have Hedwig, Malako, Villain, Gimar, and Yadmila. Now these are all basic ones you can pick if you're too incompetent to create your own character, or are not entirely sure about what kind of build you want to go with. You can go with the preset one, which is decent, but of course, for creativity's sake and the fact that, I mean, I hate using pre-made characters because they usually focus on a specific type of build that I am not interested in. Now, of course, there are lots of different portraits here, all of which reflect a different race and different character and such, and they're all interesting. There's obviously an orc, or perhaps half-orc, an elf, and such. Um, I honestly, hang on, let's just wait while I do my race in that first. Now, of course, like D&D, all your races will have traits and such. So humans get +2 to one ability score that you choose. They have feat and skilled. A feat is an ability, often allows characters, rules, addition skill rank. So yeah, that's pretty good. Then of course elves, keen senses, elven magic, elven immunities, and elven weaponry. So they get pretty decent a +2 saving throw against enchantment spells. Good with magic and stuff, and perception. And dwarfs are slow and steady, stability, hardy, defensive training, hatred of orcs and goblinoids, keen senses, and then dwarf and weaponry. Then gnomes also have keen senses and such, so they all have a they all have their own traits and such. Then of course the half elf, which is half human, half elf, have a +2 to an ability of their choice like the humans, but then they also have keen senses, elven immunities, and adaptability. So they take pieces from each race, so they have the ability to pick +2 to any ability of their choice like a human, but then they also have a lot of elven senses and elven immunities. But then they also have the ability to adapt, because of course they're from two halves of a race. And then of course a half orc also again has the human +2 ability, but then orc traits. And then an ASMR is sort of like, think pardon me, think angel or such, you know, heavenly, celestial. And then tieflings are demons, evil, hell spawns and such, if that's how you want to think. But again, you can play either one and do the complete opposite. So you can be an ASMR that's completely evil, or a tiefling that's, you know, really caring and kind and wants to help humanity. Or, well, I don't want to say humanity actually, because it's more than human races. So they want to help all living creatures. Now, I honestly, thinking about this, I was never completely sure. But I found either the ASMR or the tiefling was probably my favourite ones, because you get a heritage trait that you can pick, and then you get obviously resistance or something. Then you also get the light halo on the ASMR. And then of course you pick male or female. Now, as you may expect, all your companions have a gender preference when it comes to a partner. So there are certain ones you can't be with depending on the gender you pick. So of course you pick male, there are most, if not all, of the males you can't be with, and then also the same thing with the females. I know of two who are an exception, because actually I don't know if this applies to both races or just one, but I know it works, where both of them will marry you because they're best friends and they're sort of in a relationship together, but they're not like together, but they're very close. So then you can either marry one or the other, or you can marry both. And I don't know if that's a gender specific thing again, or if it's either or, because it shouldn't matter if they're willing to be with you and the other person as well anyway. So yeah, I don't know about that, but like I said, I think the ASMR, and I'll go male, I think, because I think that's probably best. And then I'll pick the male ASMR portrait just so it fits. Now, class. Now, I honestly, so many to pick from, 16 of them to be specific, and some of them seem so similar. like sorcerer, wizard, alchemist, cleric, magus, monk, perhaps, and such, all seem so similar with magic and stuff. And then of course slayer, paladin, inquisitor, fighter, barbarian, all seem quite similar again, but they're all completely different. They all have their own skills, their own bonuses and such, their own backgrounds, their own everything. Now I think the Kineticist is actually amazing because you can pick an archetype for them, of course, and this obviously has an effect because Kinetic Knight gets a kinetic blade where they can summon a weapon. They don't. Now, the thing I find interesting about this is that at the beginning of the game, you run into an enemy and you have to fight them. Now, you would usually have your own weapon equipped. However, the funny thing is about the Kinetic Knight is they won't have a weapon equipped. They'll have a shield, but not a weapon. Now the reason for this is because the kinetic blade is like a summoned weapon, so you pull it out magically and use it like that. It's not a physical weapon, it's a kinetic weapon, so it deals kinetic damage instead of regular damage. However, it's still the same as like the regular sword, however its damage type is different. Then of course the Kinetic uses, you know, psionic powers with mind and stuff and that. Then the Dark Elementalist uses dark stuff, so soul power and such. And then the regular Kineticist just has infusion burn, just basic stuff. So it's probably better to pick one of the more specific archetypes because they'll give you a bonus in that specific area, but the bonus isn't that big of a deal. Like this one, the Dark Elementalist has a +2 to will, whereas Kineticist and the Kinetic Warrior have +2 to fortitude and reflex. So again, that's a difference there. And these two can't cast spells, and that one can't cast spells, and then the regular Kineticist can't cast spells. So this is a spellless class, which seems pretty stupid since spells are obviously an important part of this kind of world. But of course you use kinetic abilities instead, so you do have magic powers, but you can't cast spells themselves from scrolls and such. However, you have your own versions instead, which is nice that they have their own specific type of magic. And then of course they each have their own class skills, which is the same for the class, but you know, it changes throughout every class. So I've got to go with the Kinetic Knight in the Kineticist class. Now appearance, I don't know why appearance is after your class, because depending on your class you'll get a different outfit, which can often conceal your changes, but it's fine, it's whatever, I don't care. Now think about the skin tones I don't get. You've got really dark, you've got sort of pale, then you've got, I don't know, you know, Caucasian, just sort of natural white, and then like a grey, bloodless, like dead corpse type grey, and then like an orangey green, which I assume is probably an ASMR thing, because obviously depending on the race they'll have different skin colours. But these are the only 3 human looking ones, 1, 2 and 3. 4 and 5 are, I don't know, probably race specific kind of shades, but I'll go for this one. And then hairstyle, look, you can actually see it's sort of limited honestly, but it's not that big of a deal. And then you can of course apply facial hair, but ugh, no thanks. And then sort of limited with the colours again, but it's probably just for the sake of making it easier. Now you have your heritage. Now this one I assume is sort of atheist sort of path, or rather you don't know where you're from sort of thing. You don't have a specific heritage, which gives you a +2 racial bonus to wisdom and charisma and +2 to persuasion. Whereas angel kin gives you +2 to strength and charisma and +2 to religion law. Ember King gives you +2 to intelligence and charisma and +2 to religion law and arcana knowledge. And then your Italy King gives you +2 to constitution and charisma, and then +2 to nature law and perception checks, and can use summon nature's ally spell 3 once per day. Then Lawbringer is Constitution, Wisdom, Persuasion and Perception, and can use Hold Person once a day. And then Muse Touch, Dexterity, Charisma, Perception, no, Persuasion, sorry, and Mobility. Then Plumkith, Dexterity, Wisdom, Mobility, and Athletics. Now I think I'll go for the Illikin one. So then of course you get these bonuses here already. Fourteen, 15, 16, 13, 12, 15. And this is the kind of build that you would love to get in D&D, with them all having pluses, modifiers, and decent scores. Whereas you'd realistically probably get like half of these minus modifiers, which would be so sad. And then we come to skills. Persuasion, Perception, and Athletics. Then point blank's shot, but I will be using a blade. Then I'll get Deceitful. Now you get your Elemental Focus, which I assume is specific to this class. Or maybe one other, but I'm pretty sure it's just this one. So air is airflow and electricity. Interesting electricity's in that, should probably be with water honestly, but whatever. Then earth itself, and so defensive techniques, mobility and range combat. Fire is potent weapon, powerful offense, and then water is versatility and never changing currents and such, so constantly changing forms and such. Fire is offensive, whereas defensive and air is ranged. So I'll go with fire, that's the one I like to go with, and then I'll go neutral good. You can go lawful good, but that restricts you to sort of, at least from your character's perspective, if you want to play it sort of how your character probably would, means you follow the law to the letter. Now the thing about that is the law is not always right, it's not always fair. You know, someone could be convicted of a crime which they did commit, but they committed it for a good reason. Now of course you take into consideration that maybe they had to, or like I said, it was for a good reason. So do they really deserve to be executed or imprisoned for life and such over doing what's technically a good decision? It's just against the law that was made up by people that probably break it every day. So I go neutral good. It's not neutral, so I get good choices, and it's not evil, so I don't, you know, look like the bad person. The neutral ones are sort of bland, because neutral just means you don't care either way. You know, someone says, you know, I feel really bad about this. Neutral just sort of like, it's not my problem, I don't really care, just give me my money and go, sort of thing. Whereas good obviously means you do care and you want the best for everybody, sort of thing. You want everything to go well. And evil just means you want to create evil, you want to start fires, you want to hurt people, you want to spread negativity. So neutral good's a good balance.
So many thoughts.
Our time has come.
Adventures await.
Let us bide our time.
Let's hear you cry!
I didn't even break a sweat.
Star had a good celestial name, I guess. And then the month and day, which is strangely similar to ours apart from the name. So the last day of the last month, so literally just the day before the next year. we're born, and boom, a brand new year starts. Isn't that nice? You'll notice that this is set in the format of a book, and this is because technically everything that happens has been written down in a book by somebody, and it's been published. So you're technically just reading it as like a reader, and you're being told the story through the book, and you're imagining it. Now we will meet.
Started at the mansion of an Aldori sword lord. Drawn by the promise of a most dangerous task and a commensurately huge reward, heroes of all stripes gathered here.
Now we will of course meet this narrator and book writer and excellent drawer, no doubt. That's her just there. You see the really tiny one on the right, just to the right of the red carpet with sort of orangey hair.
Taking forever. It didn't even say what this was for. Just that the Aldori were looking for heroes. Who are the Aldori anyway? Rich folk?
If you can't be patient, no one's keeping you here. Just go back to your mountains or whatever hole you crawled out of. The Aldori sword lords run the premier school for the dueling arts. They're also the richest and most influential group in this part of Brevoy. Take that tone with them, and they'll teach you some manners pretty quickly.
So, I hate this guy.
All right, you purple toad, just shut
Yeah, you
your
tell him.
trap. And if you can't, I'll help you.
Trust me, you'll grow to hate him too.
Hush! Quiet! They're coming.
See, that's Lindsay. She's the person who's written this book and who is technically narrating, although it would just be you reading what she wrote, but nevertheless. Should probably watch how those candles, you know, they're burning pretty low it seems, and we're gonna set out of that table.
Greetings, everyone. I am Sword Lord Jamandi Aldori, and
Cool.
this is Lord Mayor Yosef Salimius of Restov. Welcome to my mansion.
We thank you from the bottom of our hearts for responding to our call. You may be few, but that's unavoidable.
There's like
We
30
need only
people
the
here.
best of the best for this task. And I see true heroes before me, strong and fearless. Exactly what Restov needs.
I don't think you know what that is.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Now, to the point. South of here, just beyond Brevoy's border, lies a region known as the Stolen Lands. This is
good name.
disputed territory, and while it's long been claimed by nearby states, it's never been truly taken. I won't bore you with the legal technicalities. Suffice to say that anyone with enough courage and power to seize the Stolen Lands and name themselves Baron or Baroness, claiming dominion, well, none of the neighboring states would be able to challenge it. Of course, Restov would be first to recognize the legitimacy of this new state, as well as the noble title of its founder. Unfortunately,
Wonder who that'll be.
one serious obstacle stands between you and this title. A gang of bandits holds sway in the Stolen Lands. Their chief, who they call the Stag Lord, considers himself the rightful owner of these lands, and no one has yet been able to challenge his power. Bring me his head, and you'll be able to return to the Stolen Lands as their legal ruler. Any questions?
Yeah, you're sending like 30 people, so only one of us can become Baron or Baroness, so...
I will, of course. I'm the leader of this team, after all. Don't worry, though. I'll make it worth your while to help me.
We haven't yet begun, and you already speak of divvying rewards. What makes you think we'll even succeed? There's little point arguing over who gains the title, when we'll most likely lose our lives there.
Jesus Christ, we're in the mood, man.
If I may please answer the question.
Yeah, I'm not gonna read all the dialogue, because, like I said, my throat's sore, and honestly, it's sort of boring to read it. You can read it at your own pace. It shouldn't be too difficult to read it, and you can...
Title. Over the course of your expedition, it will be up to you as a team to decide which of you is best suited to rule.
I see one major flaw with that. Half of the people here want to be the Baron and Baroness. So let's say there's 30 people exactly. Probably 15, 16 of them at least want to be Baron or Baroness. The rest of them are just in it for the money and such, and will just support whoever they think is best. Which means that half of the people already are going to vote for themselves, or rather, at least not vote, because they're running as well. So saying, oh, you'll pick a team, it's like, well, the point is you're going to be like, oh yeah, I should be a leader. And then the few who are like, I shouldn't lead, are all going to pick their favourites. Which means that it's probably going to be like, oh, it's 2-1, you know, so I guess that's fair, sort of thing. It's like, no. So what do you gain from giving us a barony?
Don't ask stupid questions. Why should you even care? What they have to gain and why, that's for Lady Aldori and I to discuss. It's none of your concern. Your only concern is to swing your sword around, or whatever it is you do.
Of course, we stand to benefit from this enterprise. But if you're concerned that we intend to rule your country from afar, using you as a front, well, please know that these concerns are unfounded. Let's just say that we have a strong interest in the region's stability. We have need of a ruling power we can negotiate with, not bandit gangs and monster hordes.
What is that smell in the air? Is it the smell of unspoken words and political intrigue?
Excellent.
I'm not going to pry into rewards and stuff, they've made it pretty clear.
You can take some time to get to know one another better. Or you can head straight to your guest rooms to get some rest. You'll find we've already prepared supplies for you there. And thank you again for agreeing to take part in this expedition. I wish you luck.
I'm pretty sure like half the people here didn't even know what was going on.
With all my heart for replying to this call. The flare in your eyes reveals your courage. The unshakable will that distinguishes true heroes. I look at you, O champions of Restov, and doubt not for a second that you'll be victorious. So venture forth toward your feet. Go, and return in triumph.
I just want to say that first of all, he looks at, oh, I see real heroes. It's like most of the people are in this for the money. They don't care about being heroes. So that whole hero thing is utter rubbish that no one cares about. And second of all, the whole, oh, you're all going to be victorious, no one's going to die thing. You might as well just put a huge, like, what's this disclaimer, a lot of people die.
I'm a bard, though this is my first real adventure. So, shall we go teach this stag lord a lesson?
We sure will.
I have no doubt. Kind of related, I wanted to ask you something. How do you feel about this Tartuccio fellow?
Hate him.
I think he's pretty obnoxious personally. He appointed himself head of the team, and he's just after the Baron's crown, or whatever it is Barons wear. Doesn't matter. I don't like him. I think you should be team leader. When I first saw you, I couldn't help but think, now here's a real hero. Someone who'll be praised in poems and songs. This is the person I'll write my book about.
A book?
I should have led with that. Please, just let me explain. You know what the trouble with most heroes' biographies is? They're always written years later, based on the tales of, best case, people who saw things from the outside. Worst case, someone heard about it from their brother, who heard it from their friend, who heard it from their cousin, and so on, adding a new batch of lies each time. Every time I read about a heroic journey, I think to myself, why didn't they just bring a bard with them to write it all down properly?
I mean, fair enough, you know, you read stories and such, and, I mean, this might be controversial, but the Bible was written by people who said they knew Jesus and such, so it's sort of most books are written about, like, biographies, because most heroes die, that's why they're heroes, but even those that don't, they probably don't write the biographies themselves, so that whoever does, obviously, is going to dramatise some of the facts, or try and make themselves look better, perhaps. So the fact is when you trust someone else to write down things after the fact, some things may get lost in translation, or not remembered in detail, because if there's one thing that humans are very good at, it's misremembering things. Now, it's not so much that you forget, but so it's more that your mind perceives things based on your own biases and opinions. So if you hate a certain sport or whatever, you're not likely to remember seeing someone talking or playing that sport. Whereas if it's a sport you're interested in, then you're more than likely going to remember that fact because it's something of interest to you, so your mind registers it and sort of remembers it. Now, I learnt this and I thought it was pretty interesting because it was about eyewitness stuff for crimes and stuff, that eyewitness accounts are useful but should be taken with a grain of salt, and of course that, you know, they're not always accurate because people have their own opinions and views and stuff. Pretty gutsy.
And here we are, with a heroic journey lying before us. Who's going to be the hero? Some dwarf who keeps muttering about how we'll all die? Or maybe that horrific scythe lady? Or, God's forbid, Tartuccio? No way.
Hey, that horrible scythe lady's not too bad. And, I mean, it's not a great plan, per se, because if you die, you can't write the biography, and you'll be dead. So you can't write anything ever again. And nobody will be able to write yours either. So, you know, but whatever. It's not a bad plan.
Deal. Alright. I'm going to my room to write about tonight. See you in the morning.
Bye-bye. So, of course, she's going to write about what we've just spoken about, which is where she gets this all from, and why it's mostly supposedly accurate. Now, you'll notice that you can't actually speak to anyone. You just have to go straight to your room. This just gives you a chance to explore and stuff. There aren't any actual dialogues you can enter into people with. I mean, you can't enter into dialogue with anyone. I can't English right now. Ugh. Oh god. His throat, man. I'm fine if you're worried. It just, I burnt my throat. I think it's because I was eating stuff that was too hot. Oh, how's it going, Lindsay? You alright? You run out of ink or something?
The mansion's under attack. We need to help.
That's not great.
Some villains broke in and started killing everyone. I barely made it. Hurry, we have to help the guards fight off the attackers, or we'll all be cut down one by one.
Oh, come on, dude. Seriously? That was a bit of dignity. Oh, hello, dude. Wow, magic, you shut my door just like that. Then we enter combat. Now, as you can see, we have here Summon Nature's Ally and such. Then we have Light Halo, Gather Power, and then Fire Blast, Kinetic Blade. Now, watch this. Watch our character, you ready? Draw sword, boom on fire, just like that, magic. Boom. This thing is like OP. Probably gonna burn my room down, but whatever.
Focus on the goal.
Now, if you look in your inventory, you'll notice that it's not an actual weapon that's on here, but one point you come to equipment and go down to weapons, you'll notice you can't. Can you hear that clicking? You can't unequip it. So look, the shield, equip, unequip, take off, do whatever. Your kinetic blade, this weapon specifically, can't do anything. You can check stuff about it, but that's it. That's it. That's all you can do. It's literally like a weapon you're given and can't ungive yourself. It is your weapon now forever. This was probably like Lindsay's room or something, considering the lack of a dead adventure in it. Well, well, well. Oh no, they've got Tartuccio. Whatever will we do? Just walk away slowly and turn around the corner. None of our business. Oh, what do we have to help?
This should do it. A calculated risk.
Wow.
You're just in time. A bit longer and I'd have been... Whew, I don't even want to think about it. Can you imagine what a terrible loss this would have been? But it's all right now. I'm safe, sound, and unscathed, ready to lead you to victory. Lady Jamandi's holding the line in the banquet hall. You know, the one where she had us gather before. We
Yep,
need to
it's
make
not
our way
dumb.
to her. And along the way, we'll try to save some of these dummies who are supposed to accompany us to the Stolen Land. Speaking of dummies, take this ring. Quiet now, so that little fool doesn't hear us. She might try to steal it herself. It's magical. It'll protect you. You'll need it while you work to defend me.
Huh. Can you not defend yourself?
Time's not waiting. As it should be.
Now I'm going to end the stream here just because of how tired I am, but mainly because of how much I've rambled on as well. I've spent like 30-40 minutes just talking about making a character and such. I've not actually done much gameplay, but it's just sort of, I think it's important that you get used to character creation and modelling and the story and such before you dive in. I'm not saying research all the endings and stuff, because that sort of takes the fun out of finding them, but it's obviously good to try and get the best one. But regardless, I think it's more of just by going back, you can look at the things you did wrong, the stats you picked incorrectly, and you can make sure you don't do that again. So, yeah, anyway, thank you so much for joining me for this stream. Remember to like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. And, yeah, I'll see you guys next time.